Jada is back at it here to give everyone my very first Walking Dead Season 7 episode review video. But before I continue with that, it's extremely, and I repeat, extremely important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead that you pay attention to this episode title. I'll put the title in the description as always. If that's the case and you're not caught up, I strongly suggest, and so does everybody else, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. This will be The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode number 1, the Season 7 premiere. The title of this episode is called The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. This will be my review, reaction, recap of the episode. It's an episode I've seen many times. It's a hard episode to watch, one of the most brilliant episodes of The Walking Dead. And I wanted to review it, to have it reviewed on my channel. And also wanted to review it due to the fact that they announced that Season 11 of The Walking Dead will be the final season of the main Walking Dead show. Not necessarily the end of The Walking Dead story. So I'm going to kind of do this out of order than the episode does, because the episode starts in the future and then goes back to the past just a little bit. I'm just going to start with the stuff that happens right after we left off in season 6, and then go from there. So, of course, cornered by Negan and his men, Rick and his group continue to be forced on their knees in front of Negan to pledge to serve him and do things for him. And then to further coerce them, Negan selects one of them to bash in their head to kind of send a message with his barbed wire baseball bat, Lucille. And then after his game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo that we saw in the last episode, but we didn't actually see who it was, we see that Negan stops and goes to Abraham. And Abraham gets clocked with Lucille, but Abraham's still alive after the first hit and tells Negan to suck his nuts. Great moment. What a way for that character to go up. I love it. I hate the fact that they chose Abraham, but nonetheless. So Negan, of course, proceeds to pulverize Abraham's head to a pulp, and the others are just watching and recoil in horror and terror seeing this. And then when Negan presents the blood-soaked bat to a horrified Rosita, Daryl leaps up and punches Negan. And Negan had warned them, nothing like that can happen. But of course, after Daryl does that, he is quickly subdued by Dwight and 2 other saviors. And Negan states that he will not tolerate such behavior, and he has to punish the group. And he told them, I said first ones were free, because remember Maggie had done that before. But this one, back to it. And then Negan clocks Glenn with Lucille. Now Glenn, after the first hit, is pretty fucked up, but still has got some brains working in there. And after a little bit of, and he's got his eye hanging out, just like the Walking Dead comic book, Glenn says to Maggie, I'll find you. And then Negan, looks at how sad Maggie is. He's like, man, I'm really sorry that I'm doing, I feel bad for you people, but no exceptions. And then just starts clocking Glenn over and over and over again as the group watches in terror. Negan just continues to smash Glenn's head in the same manner as Abraham. And there's a point where they look at, Glenn's hand is twitching all throughout it. It's just it was very hard to watch. What a crazy, chaotic moment. They should have done one of those kills at the end of Season 6 and then did another one in Season 7. But hey, it made this episode all the more memorable, but people hated the cliffhanger. So, after witnessing Negan kill 2 members of his own party, and this is how the episode actually starts, Rick quietly vows to the Savior leader that he will kill him someday. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And then unfazed, Negan actually drags Rick to the group's RV, viciously announcing that he will be back, and if Rick isn't with him, his men have permission to kill the rest of Rick's gang. And then after taunting Rick, Negan drives off and brings the RV to a stop near one of the Savior roadblocks where they had the guy hanging by an overpass amid a horde of walkers in the thick morning fog, nonetheless. Negan then tosses Rick's hatchet onto the RV's roof and orders Rick to retrieve it before pushing him out of the RV. And amidst the heavy fog and smoke, Rick scrambles for safety as he's being like attacked by walkers, and Rick is pushing him off. And then Rick is able to get to the RV's roof and sees a walker body dangling from the overpass. Now, this is the point where Rick has the flashbacks of what actually happened, and losing Glenn and Abraham. And Negan wants his hatchet back, apparently. I don't know why he put it up there in the first place, but he becomes impatient for Rick to return and starts firing up through the roof of the RV. Immediately, Rick grabs the hatchet and then jumps to the hanging corpse, but slips and falls a little bit, not all the way, but is hanging by like the guy's abdomen, dropping the hatchet. And then as the walkers swarm around Rick, Negan starts to fire onto them, giving Rick the chance to collect the hatchet and return to the RV. And then eventually Negan drives off. So pretty crazy moment, because the body that Rick's hanging from, it comes apart and then Rick falls, but Negan had killed some of the walkers, so he actually didn't get bit, surprisingly. You thought maybe that would have been the end of Rick. And then as Rick sits in silence, Negan drives back to the clearing and hauls Rick from the RV. Reunited with both groups, Negan explains to Rick that he had hoped that the trip changed Rick's mind about him. Since Rick still refuses to submit to him, Negan actually forces Rick to his knees and has Carl lie next to him. And then Negan puts a belt around Carl's arm, asks Simon for a marker, which that's kind of weird that Simon's just walking around with a Sharpie, essentially. And then he warns Rick that he will order his men to kill every member of Rick's group and those back at home at Alexandria if he does not cut off Carl's arm. So, wow, now Rick has to cut he has to cut his forearm off, basically, more like his hand. And Rick, of course, begs to Negan to let him take Carl's place instead, but Negan refuses, aggressively sobbing in anguish. Rick picks up the hatchet as Negan's counting and braces himself to cut Carl, and Carl even says, "Just do it, Dad." And then all of a sudden, Negan, at the last second, calmly stops him, satisfied that Rick has finally submitted. And then Negan goes on to announce that he and his men will show up at Alexandria in 1 week to take one half of Rick and Alexandria's supplies. And then after seizing Daryl as a hostage, Negan and the Saviors leave the group in despair. And Negan leaves by saying, "Ta-ta." Everything basically right out of the Walking Dead comic book. So that's pretty crazy. And then there's another part that they show, like, people taking pictures of Glenn and Abraham's body, like you saw in Not Tomorrow Yet, season 6, episode 12, where you saw the pictures on the wall. So after the group reels in with shock and grief, Rick tells a heartbroken Maggie, still suffering from the pregnancy complications, although seems like those kind of healed up a little bit all of a sudden. Like, she could barely move before, and now she's, like, getting up on her own. That they need to get her to Hilltops. They need to get her to the Hilltops doctor. However, Maggie urges them that they need to head back to Alexandria and prepare for a fight. And Rick counters, saying that they will all die if they go after Negan and his army, and Daryl will die. And the group insists on continuing to the hilltop, but Maggie demands that they do not follow her. Sasha volunteers to escort Maggie to the hilltop to, of course, recover along with the bodies. Maggie help Maggie recover, and then take along the bodies of Glenn and Abraham. And then as a walker slowly approaches, Rick picks up the hatchet and joins the others in the RV. Saddened, Rick has a vision of the entire group, and this was really hard to watch. All the group, it's kind of like a Last Supper thing, with all of them dressed really nice, and everybody at the table, including Glenn, Abraham, and, well, spoiler alert, Glenn and Maggie's baby, who they name Herschel, after her father, Herschel. Yeah, they're all at the table, having a great dinner, and it's pretty sad. And they, of course, were enjoying a peaceful outdoor meal together in Alexandria before coming back to reality, though. The right hand side view mirror, Rick sees the lone walker eating the leftover blood remains of Abraham as he drives away. And that's how this crazy episode ends. So we waited. We had the cliffhanger, and we waited for this masterpiece. Now, I don't like what they did in the episode as far as who they killed, but man, there's some powerful shit. It was powerful, but yet funny. Like, Negan was saying things that were funny, so you'd have these really sad moments, and then you'd have these, like, funny, like Abraham, after he gets hit in the head with a bat, you know, he tells Negan to suck his nuts, and then, you know, killing Glenn, and it's a tough episode, but again, you can't argue it's one of the best episodes of The Walking Dead. Definitely top 5. I would probably put it 5th or 4th, I believe, on my top 25 favorite episodes of The Walking Dead. So, as far as the score of this episode, well, I always give the top episodes a 10. This was a 10. The character of the episode, as much as I'd like to give it to Glenn and Abraham, they didn't really do much except get killed. Negan, easily the character of the episode. He was amazing. Very big statement as a villain in your first 2 episodes to do. But, you know, it is what it is. I enjoyed it, though. It was crazy. And the part where, like, Negan wants Rick to cut Carl's hand off with a hatchet, or arm, hand, forearm, whatever you want to call it. That was crazy. I don't really care about Carl that much, but, you know, it was still like, what the fuck? But Negan definitely broke Rick in this episode. There's no doubt about it. So, you've heard what I have to say. I've rambled long enough. Now it's your turn. So if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you enjoyed this season 7 premiere, the day will come when you won't be. Go ahead and smash that like button. Smash the like button, even if you, despite if you like this episode or not. I mean, it was a crazy episode. If you know anybody that would be interested in this, share the video with them. Don't forget to leave me a comment. You can talk about who you thought Negan was going to kill versus who ended up dying. You can talk about your score of the episode, your character of the episode. Score it, whatever you want. Give me your favorite episodes, least favorite episodes, favorite characters, least favorite characters. Obviously, Glenn and Abraham are definitely some of my favorite characters on The Walking Dead. It was sad to lose them both. I think they could have done a lot more with Abraham. Glenn was kind of getting a little stagnant, but Abraham still had stuff he could do. He just got in a new relationship with Sasha, and already he's dead and it sucks. So, and then, of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that like, or don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, show your support, join the team, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.